Hey there, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another review. This time I'm reviewing something I picked up recently. Just got done watching. Well, recently got done watching it. Drive-In Delirium, the new batch. A new movie trailer compilation from Umbrella Entertainment. Really enjoy these. I have their previous one, Maximum 80s Overdrive, with Chuck Norris there on the cover. A lot of different kinds of trailers. I don't have this one, the 60s and 70s Savagery one. So maybe one day I'll pick that up. But like the previous one has a lot of Pat stuff in it. From Chained Heat, Nine Deaths of the Ninja, Strip to Kill, and really good companion piece to Trailer Trauma 3, the 80s Horror-thon, which I think is the best trailer compilation. It has so many things from the 80s horror films year by year. And these were good companion pieces, because like that has Strip to Kill 2, this has Strip to Kill 1. The few stuff that didn't have, this has stuff like Death Spa, Prison, Night Train to Terror, Cat's Eye. I think that has one version of the trailer of Day of the Dead. This has the trailer to Day of the Dead where they're in the movie theater and the zombies eating the popcorn. That has the Chopping Mall trailer with Killbots. This has the Chopping Mall trailer with actual says Chopping Mall, because the original title for it was Killbots. That had, I think that has the teaser to The Fog, and this has the full trailer to The Fog. But it also has stuff like 52 Pickup, Blood Simple, Sorceress, Saturn 3, The Terminator, Robocop, Miracle Mile, They Live, Break-In. While this has Break-In 2, The Beyond, Black Cat, Demons, Demons 2, and so forth. So this was a great set. This is a very strong follow-up. It is even longer because it's split into 3 parts. Part 1, the quickening, Part 2, the spawning, and Part 3, VHS Delirium. The first part is 3 hours and 10 or so minutes. The second part is like 3 hours and 2 minutes. And the third part is like an hour and 34, 35 minutes. So you get well over 7 hours worth of material on this. And it's done in 1080p. The trailers look great. Of course, the VHS Delirium are VHS trailers, so they're made to look VHS quality, which I'm fine with. But all these trailers are in 1080p and look great. Some of them look the best I've ever seen them. Like The Curse with Will Wheaton. I don't even think that film has a Blu-ray, at least that I know of. And this looks at HD quality. It's a good variety of trailers. You know, there's horror, but there's also sci-fi, there's some westerns, there's some comedies, there's some action, quite a few Charles Bronson stuff. So, I know Umbrella Entertainment, some have said their Blu-rays don't work in their Blu-ray players, but the Umbrella stuff has worked well on mine, so I can only speak for myself. I have a Sony region-free Blu-ray player. Speaking of trailer compilations, I do hope one day some company does a 90s one, even if it's just horror movies. I know some would say there's no nostalgia for it, but I think there is. And I think it's something that not a lot of people mention, but I do think there is a nostalgia for 90s stuff that just needs to be out in the open, and people have to admit it. And I would love at least one company, because all these trailer compilations are 70s and 80s stuff, and I love that, believe me. But they're all 70s and 80s, or like, I guess this one has 60s stuff. I haven't seen it yet, but this one here. How about some 90s? I mean, horror alone, you could have Jacob's Ladder, Tremor, Stephen King's Graveyard Shift, Child's Play 2, Exorcist 3, The First Power, Misery. That's just 1990. The Ambulance. Yeah, In the Mouth of Madness, you got West Stranger New Nightmare, The People Under the Stairs, Scream, Blair Witch Project, Stir of Echoes, Dr. Diddles. You have a good heaping of trailers. Predator 2, Tremors 2. There's a good chunk of them, and I think whoever does it, I could very well be wrong, but I think you would get a surprising amount of people would be intrigued by it. So I do hope one company does it one day. But at the end of this, what's also nice is that they do extra work. Like they put in interstitials once in a blue moon. Like when you start the second part called, was part 2, The Spawning, there's a PSA for not smoking. And it's a Star Wars PSA with C-3PO talking to R2-D2 about not smoking and people shouldn't smoke. And it's the voice, real voice C-3PO. And I've never seen that before, but that was really cool. On this one, there's a PSA for Clint Eastwood about crack cocaine. So seeing stuff like that as an extra nugget of fun, I appreciate that. You know, I like the presentation. I like the artwork of the covers. I mean, you got Death Wish 3, Charles Bronson. You got Meteor. Gets it from Breaking 2, Humanoids from the Deep, Game of Death. 1990, the Bronze, was it the Bronze Warriors? Yeah. So you have a lot of, if you like trailer compilations, these are definitely worth it. But again, I don't know how you can make sure if your Blu-ray player will play these. I don't know. But if it can, these are well worth it. These are some of the better ones out there. Now, I wasn't sure how, I mean, and the 1080p HD transfers on these trailers look really damn good. Like, I'm really impressed by that. And then I wasn't sure how to go about review this. Like, it'd take me an hour to talk about every single trailer. But I could at least, run through them and tell you the titles. I figure maybe, that would be best. Let's see. Like, part 1, The Quickening. You have a black and white 50s movie called The Creeping Unknown, aka The Quartermass. You have The Angry Red Planet about Mars. It's called The Angry Red Planet. The Green Slime, which I remember having fun with when I was a kid. That's one I would like to pick up one day, if it's on Blu-ray. It has a fun title song, and I believe the director actually went on to direct Battle Royale, believe it or not. The Green Slime. Chosen Survivors, where a bunch of people are put in this bunker. You have the guy who played Perry White from the old Superman movies, and then you have Richard Jekyll. And they're put in this bunker because apparently there's been a war. But there's also killer bats in this bunker as well. So it's like sci-fi horror film. They're called Chosen Survivors. Meteor, the disaster movie. Before Armageddon, it was Meteor with Sean Connery, Natalie Wood. I remember it being a big flop. The Dark, which is a horror film starring William Devane and Richard Jekyll. Toby Hooper was going to direct it, but then he got fired, so they got the guy who did Kingdom of the Spiders, John Bud Cardos, to direct it. Without Warning, Predator Before Predator, with Jack Palance and Martin Landau. It's an alien that hunts people. And the alien is actually played by Kevin Peter Hall, who would go on to be the Predator in Predator 1 and 2. So, yeah, Without Warning, Extra, which is a bit of a clusterfuck of a movie. Altered States, I really enjoy that film, William Hurt. Silent Rage, classic film with Chuck Norris. 1990, The Bronze Warriors. Night of the Comet, I think that's a fun movie with Catherine Mary Stewart and Kelly Maroney. The Quiet Earth, which I'll tell you one thing, people say trailers today give away the entire movie. That's always been the case. The Quiet Earth trailer, the final shot of the trailer is the final shot of the movie. I know, because I've seen the movie, and I remember liking the film. And I think it's the same guy who gone to direct Young Guns 2 and Free Jack with Emilio Estevez. as well as Fortress 2. Jeff Murphy, I believe is the same director. I remember liking The Quiet Earth. Terror Vision, which I'm not much a fan of. The Hidden, classic. The Curse, good flick with Will Wheaton. And that's one of those I really noticed the HD work that they did on these trailers because, again, I don't think, if The Curse is on Blu-ray, I don't know it. Maybe it is, I just don't know it, but it looks pretty damn good. Our Man Flint, going to the variety of stuff. That's a James Bond sort of comedy type with James Coburn, which looks like fun. Then he has some stop motion animation flicks like When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth, The Golden Voyage of Sinbad. Those look fun. You have this weird trailer called Dot Savage, The Man of Bronze, which you didn't tell they were being very campy with it. Anime film that looks really nice, Wizards. That's a film I would like to give a look one day. The sequel to In the Heat of the Night, They Call Me Mr. Tibbs, with Sidney Poitier. The Stone Killer with Charles Bronson. The Laughing Policeman, which is a film with Walter Matthau, Bruce Dern, and Louis Gossett Jr., where some cops investigate these people who were murdered on this bus from this maniac. It's a 70s cop movie. Freebie and the Bean looks like a fun buddy cop film with James Caan and I think Alan Alda. Brannigan, which is one of the later John Wayne films where it was at the time 70s, modern cop film starring John Wayne, and he was in London. I haven't seen the film. Night Moves with Gene Hackman, 10 to Midnight with Charles Bronson, Tightrope with Clint Eastwood, Gorky Park, which is a murder mystery movie, I believe in Russia, starring William Hurt. You also have Lee Marvin and Brian Dennehy. Dead Heat with Treat Williams and Joe Piscopo, directed by the same guy who directed The Punisher with Dolph Lundgren. A zombie buddy cop movie. Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, directed by Sam Peckinpah, starring Warren Oates, which I've heard of the film, definitely heard of the title, but I haven't seen the movie. Convoy, another Sam Peckinpah film. That was a film that had a lot of drug problems, so the film took a lot longer to make, and some other people were having to come in to direct stuff. Stars Chris Christopherson, Burt Young, Ernest Borgnine. Became, I think, Sam Peckinpah's most successful movie. Death Machines, which has a pretty funny trailer, has some like animation done specifically for the trailer, which that animation looked cool, but none of that's going to be in the movie. Game of Death with Bruce Lee. Sword Kill, which is about a samurai that is stabbed, falls into the water. I guess he freezes, and then Captain America style, in modern time, he gets brought back. So he's a samurai in modern time. Interesting idea. Again, called Sword Kill. Exterminator 2. Death Wish 3, my favorite Death Wish film. Striking Back, but I think this was another film. This is a film, I think the title was The New Kids. It was a film directed by Sean Cunningham with Lori Loughlin, and then James Spader as the villain. I thought it was called The New Kids or something, but here it's called Striking Back. Rolling Vengeance. Think of Death Wish, but the guy uses a monster truck. The Killing of America, which is the creepiest trailer on the compilation because I didn't realize at first that it was real deaths and real aftermath, and they're talking to real killers in this time period. So yeah, if you want to dare yourself, watch the Killing of America trailer. Pretty creepy trailer, in my opinion. One called Savage Attraction, aka Hostage. Fair Game has nothing to do with the Cindy Crawford movie. This is a Australian film where these assholes pick on this woman and they have to fight for their life. Looks like a pretty good flit, some nice camera work. Then you have sort of women in prison type of movies, Hellhole and The Naked Cage. You have The Cassandra Crossing, which is about a train, and apparently there's a virus on there, but then only a handful are affected, but the military won't let the others leave. Martin Sheen is in the cast. O.J. Simpson's in the cast. Burt Lancaster's in the cast. The Domino Principle, which is a Gene Hackman film I never heard of, with Candice Bergen, who is also in Night Moves with Gene Hackman. Yeah, never heard of The Domino Principle. But Gene Hackman gets out of jail, and then people make him do stuff he doesn't want to do. Eye of the Needle with Donald Sutherland's the villain, and it's directed by Richard Marquand, the guy who directed Return of the Jedi. So Eye of the Needle. Another Charles Bronson film called Cabo Blanco. Another Charles Bronson film with Lee Marvin and Carl Weathers called Death Hunt. Fragment of Fear, which I think stars the guy from Deep Red, David Hemmings. The Eyes of Lower Mars, which I think Faye Dunaway stars in it. I know Tommy Lee Jones is in it. From a script from John Carpenter. He didn't direct it. He probably got rewritten, but the original script was John Carpenter. Two Roy Scheider films. One's The Last Embrace, which has Charles Napier and Christopher Walken in it. And then Still of the Night, which is Roy Scheider and Meryl Streep, which seems like the precursor to Color of Night with Bruce Willis. Death Valley, the horror film with Peter Billingsley from A Christmas Story. And you also have Catherine Hicks from Child's Play, Stephen McHattie. A film called High Point, which seemed like an action comedy. The Naked Face, a Canon Films flick with Roger Moore, Elliot Gould, I forget who else. And they're not sure Roger Moore, he's like a writer or a doctor, but he's giving away secrets. But then you're not sure is he a good guy, is he a bad guy, at least based on the trailer. But it looked interesting. Dead Ringers, the Jeremy Irons film, directed by David Cronenberg. Escape to Athena, which is a George P. Cosmatos flick with Roger Moore, Telly Savalas, Richard Roundtree, and Elliot Gould. I'm like, holy shit, George P. Cosmatos? Escape to Athena. Attack 4Z, which looks like a Vietnam movie, with Mel Gibson and Sam Neill. Attack 4Z. Missing in Action. Matahari, which is a Tandem Films flick. Death Rides a Horse. I think that stars a guy named John Philip Law and Lee Van Cleef. Ayo Sabata, which is Yul Brynner in a Western. Valdez is Coming, which I think is like Burt Lancaster playing a Mexican or something. Or Spanish. The Hunting Party, which is a film with Gene Hackman and Burt Lancaster. No, Oliver Reed, I think. Oliver Reed, Gene Hackman, and no, Candice Bergen wasn't in Night Moves. She was in Domino Principle with Gene Hackman, and this movie with Gene Hackman. This is the one Candice Bergen is in. This one and the Domino Principle. She's not in Night Moves. Yeah, she's in this one. Because Candice Bergen again with Gene Hackman, and Gene Hackman's woman is taken, and he leads a hunting party. But then it's like, okay, is he there to get his woman back, or is he there just for being excited to hunt humans, or Gene Hackman film I never heard of. Breakheart Pass, which is a Charles Bronson film, Western on a train. It's like a murder mystery with Richard Crenna and Charles Durning. From Noon Till 3, which is a Charles Bronson Western romance comedy. Linda and Abilene, which is a Western, but it's a porn film. Last Tango in Paris, which is a very controversial Marlon Brando film that got a lot of good reviews and was artsy-fartsy, but something about there's a rape with a banana or some type of thing that was used in it. I forget what the hell it was, but you guys can look it up. I've heard of Last Tango in Paris, but I've never seen it. Caligula, Brad Jones Cinema Staff's favorite film, which Maybe one day I'll give it a look just to curiosity. They're Playing with Fire, which is like a kid falls in love with his teacher, and the teacher's played by, I think, Sybil Danning. Every Home Should Have One, which is a comedy with Marty Feldman. Same guy who was in Mel Brooks' Flick's like Young Frankenstein. The Pink Panther Strikes Again. High Anxiety, which is a Mel Brooks film I haven't seen. The Kentucky Fried Movie. The Nude Bomb. History of the World Part 1. The Man with Two Brains with Steve Martin. Amazon Women on the Moon, which is a film I would like to see one day. Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo. Intermission. Then Part 2 The Spawning. The beginning of that is where you get the C-3PO R2-D2 Don't Smoke PSA. And this is where you get a lot more of the just horror stuff. Terror in the Isles, which is a clip compilation back in the day of horror movies. Blood Mania. What's the Matter with Helen, which has Shelley Winters in it. Point of Terror. Don't Look in the Basement. Don't Go in the House. Silent Scream. Demented, which was based on Ed Gein. The Prowler, which has Tom Savini effects. Directed by Joseph Zito, who did Friday the 13th Part 4. Happy Birthday to Me. The Funhouse by Tobe Hooper. Night School. Slumber Party Massacre. Alone in the Dark with Jack Palance and Martin Landau and Donald Pleasance. Also Murdoch from the A-Team TV shows in it. The Slayer. Double Exposure. House and Sorority Row. The Mutilator. Friday the 13th 4, 5, and 7. So not 6. Slaughter High, April Fool's Day, Destroyer, Ghost Story, The Survivor, The Entity, The House Where Evil Dwells, Poltergeist 1, 2, and 3, Amityville 2 and 3, House, The Mephisto Waltz, The Exorcist 1 and 2, The Sentinel, The Hearse, Omen 3, The Final Conflict, The Power, Prince of Darkness, Angel Heart, The Seventh Sign, Warlock, Phantasm, Soul Survivor, The Serpent and the Rainbow, Kathy's Curse, The Dead Zone, Firestarter, Pet Sematary, The Crimson Cult, Deathline, The Comeback, House of Law and Shadows with Vincent Price, The Doctor and the Devils, with I think Timothy Dalton's in that, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Lisa and the Devil, Spasmo, Deep Red, City of the Living Dead, Manhattan Baby, Phenomena, Shiver the Vampire, Count Dracula's Great Love, The Night of the Sorcerers, The Night Visitor with Max von Sydow, Possession with Sam Neill, Ape, Orca, The White Buffalo with Charles Bronson, Daily Eyes about the Killer Rats, Razorback, Underrated, Dark Age, Jaws 4, The Bat People, Humanoids from the Deep, Wolfen, American Wolf in London, The Howling 1 and 2, Cat People, The Fly Remake, Near Dark, The Being, Chud, Hobgoblins, Pumpkinhead, The Incredible Torture Show, Basket Case, Brain Damage, and The Video Dead. Whew. Deep Red and Phenomena, those are 2 films I would like to get on Blu-ray, but they're way too expensive. But I remember them being pretty good Dario Argento films. And then the VHS Delirium, they're not listed, so that's why I have it queued up. I figure I could at least list them for people who are interested. These are VHS trailers, so I think they're a little bit shorter than a usual trailer, which is why they packed a lot into this hour and a half. But you have a film called Christiane F., which is about a girl who becomes a prostitute. Live a Little, Steal a Lot, which I forget who stars in this. Robert Conrad and Don Stroud. Sisters with Margot Kidder. I know she recently passed away. May she rest in peace. A film called Starflight 1, which is about like a new airplane that could go through the limits of space. And it stars Lee Majors. Never heard of the film. Something called Fake Out, which is Like I think Telly Savalas is in it, Desi Arnaz Jr. and Pia Sedora. Full Moon High, which is a werewolf comedy, which I've heard of but I've never seen. Q the Winged Serpent. This is not the teaser where it's just the Q symbol. This is actual footage from the movie. High Road to China with Tom Selleck. They Call Me Bruce, which is a very fun film. Did you do that? No, Memorex. I love They Call Me Bruce. I wish the sequel was out on DVD. Fritz the Cat. Great flick. Hostage. I think this is the same film they have here, just under the different title. Savage Attraction. Great Scout and Cat House Thursday. With Lee Marvin, I think Oliver Reed, and it's like a Western comedy. Yellowbeard, which has a lot of recognizable people, including Cheech and Chong in it. So I guess that's a Cheech and Chong film I haven't seen. I think Eric Idle's in it, and like Marty Feldman and Peter Boyle. I'm not sure if Marty Feldman's in it, but I know Cheech and Chong, Peter Boyle, and Eric Idle are in it. Breathless with Richard Gere. Jaguar Lives. This is when they try to make Joe Louis an action star, and it didn't work out. Lonely Lady, much criticized movie. No, the Cinema Snob did an episode on this. Looks like a pretty bad movie. Lonely Lady with Pia Zadora. Split Image. Looks like an interesting flick with James Woods. Like this kid. Was it this kid? He gets pulled into this cult and kind of brainwashed, and then the family's trying to snap him out of it. It's directed by Ted Kotcheff, who did First Blood, Uncommon Valor, and Weekend at Bernie's. Yeah, Michael O'Keefe, Karen Allen, James Woods, Brian Dennehy, Peter Fonda, music by Bill Conti. So yeah, that's definitely a film I'd be interested in giving a look. Your Hunter from the Future with Reb Brown. You have a film called Zulu Dawn. Till Until Again, which looks like a fun, goofy martial arts film. The Last Hunter, which I think is an Italian Vietnam movie. Fletch for Frankenstein, which I think the other title is Andy Warhol's Frankenstein. I think that's the one with Udo Kier. And then Andy Warhol's Dracula, which here is called Blood for Dracula. House by the Cemetery. You have a film called Get Crazy. Which one was this film? Malcolm McDowell, Daniel Stern, Alan Arkush directed it. Looks like a pretty crazy comedy with rock and roll in it. Threshold. Can't even say the fucking word right. Threshold. It's a film with Donald Sutherland about trying to install like the first artificial heart, and it also has Jeff Goldblum in it. Never even heard of this film. Donald Sutherland and Jeff Goldblum in sort of a sci-fi medical drama about this purely artificial heart. That's what I love about this stuff. And then you have a film called Brainwaves. So medical experiments being done on this lady involving her brain. Caligula, again. Never Say Never Again, James Bond film with Sean Connery. 21 Hours at Munich, which I think has Bud Spencer from They Call Me Trinity as one of the people. Interesting enough. It's about the Olympics and the people who were hostage and a bit of an action movie. Count Yorga Vampire, film called Chrome and Hot Leather. A guy comes home from the war and then does battle with bikers and motorcycle gang. Film called Highballin' with Peter Fonda and I forget the guy from the guy from Smokey and the Bandit films with Burt Reynolds. Can't believe I forgot his name. He sings as well. Again, can't believe I forgot his name. Then a film called Stone Cold Dead. A film about a sniper, and it stars Richard Crenna. Again, never heard of the film, but makes me curious about it. A film called The Cold Room with Amanda Pays in her first role. Interesting enough, I like Amanda Pays from Leviathan and the 90s show The Flash. Because it says introducing Amanda Pays. American Wolf in London, Alligator, Robert Forster, Empire of the Ants, The Return. I think, yes, like an alien with this little like mini lightsaber thing that like, he holds up. Like, Darth Maul's lightsaber. Imagine that being a mini one, and the guy's holding it in the middle. I think like Jan Michael Vincent and Sybil Shepherd are in this movie, and yeah, it's called The Return. Then you have this comedy actually looks kind of fun. Young Doctors in Love. It looks like a pretty fun, goofy comedy, and it has. I'm drawing a blank on names today. But this seemed like it had a lot of fun jokes in it. Like, Harry Dean Stanton has an appearance in it. God, the sort of the main asshole boss in 9 to 5. The guy in The Last Boy Scout who's like, I want to see you, I want to hear you scream. And Bruce Willis says, play rap music. The guy who gets killed in the helicopter blades. And then the guy who's one of the guys in Spinal Tap. And he was also in Short Circuit 2. I'm horrible with names today. I don't know why I'm drawing a fucking blank on this stuff. And then something called Melvin, the Son of Alvin. I thought it had something to do with the Chipmunks, but it does not. Stanners, The Philadelphia Experiment with Michael Pare, Cujo. So, actually have a trailer of Cujo. It's Defiance with J. Michael Vincent. A film called The Fifth Floor. Sort of like a psychological flick with Jennifer, which they tried to make look like Carrie, but in the advertising they never show that what she does is control like snakes. Secrets of the Phantom Caverns, which I thought looked interesting because it's a bunch of people going to these caves and there's these albino like type of human but not quite in there, and it's like an adventure movie, and I don't know, it looked like a decent flick. Kill Squad, The name pretty much says it. And Seminoid, which is a piece of shit. Savage Islands, which has... Yeah, this is the one with Tom Lee Jones as the star of the film. Then you have a flick called Battle Truck. Again, the name kind of says it all. Cannonball with David Carradine. Cannibal Run 2. Something Wicked This Way Comes. The Ruddles received like a parody on the Beatles, and what happened with the Beatles. A film called Cloud Dancer with David Carradine about the joys of flying this airplane that can do all these twists and turns and real aerial photography. I did sort of a horror parody comedy called Hysterical. But Roadhouse 66, which stars Willem Dafoe and Judge Reinhold. 1984, of course, based on the novel with Ian Holm. Lassiter with Tom Selleck and Jane Seymour. Losing It. I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it as the comedy with Tom Cruise and such, where I think they want to get laid. I think they go to Mexico or something. I haven't seen the film. Some flick called The Key. Insatiable with Marilyn Chambers, pretty much a porn film. Bedside Headmaster, which is sort of a adult sex comedy. Then you have this one flick called Julia. When a Stranger Calls, which actually, really enough, it's an early form of that showing the audience their reaction, which, later they did that with Paranormal Activity. This is like an early form of them doing that, but with the original When a Stranger Calls. A film called Tilt, which deals with a guy who plays pinball, but then it's also like a teenage, I don't know what you call it, like a drama or what do you call it, but it's all around pinball games. Pursuit of D.B. Cooper, starring Tree Williams. He escapes out with a parachute with all this money, and he's trying to get away with all this cash. And you have Robert Duvall in it. Condor Man, which I know my friend Mike, OCP, talked about. Starred. Okay, what the fuck this movie is about? I think it's about a woman becoming a prostitute. Seven, which stars, I think, William Smith, the guy who played Conan's dad in Conan the Barbarian, an action movie. You have a film called Flight 90. It's like a disaster film. I think Richard Masur from The Thing and It are in it. The guy from Monster Squad and Stephen King's Graveyard, Stephen Mott, he's in it as well. Yeah, they're on a plane. The plane crashes in the snow, and again, never even heard of Flight 90. Then you have Angel. Dominique is Dead. The Day After. The Exterminators of the Year 3000. You have a film called Cross Country. I don't recognize the people in it. And there you go, Cross Country. So there you go. Longer than I thought it would be, but they don't really give you a thing on here to pick which trailer you want to see. So I can only tell you by flipping through it physically what was on there. But yeah, I mean, I know it's a long review, but yeah, it's 7 hours worth of stuff to sort of discuss. So over 7 hours. So That's Delirium, the new batch. If you like movie trailer compilations and you can play Umbrella Entertainment Blu-rays, this is well worth it. Thanks for watching, take care, and we will see you later.